The Los Angeles Lakers may be trying to bring a former UCLA kid home. Veteran NBA big man Kevon Looney is on the Lakers' radar in free agency, veteran NBA writer Mark Stein reported on Saturday. Stein notes that former top 5 pick Jonas Valanciunas is also an option whom the Lakers are considering as they look to sign another frontcourt piece. Looney, 30, is perhaps the more interesting of those two names. For one, Looney already has quite the collection of hardware thanks to his memorable run with the Golden State Warriors from 2015 to 2025. Over that span, Looney was a 3-time NBA champion who became a cult hero in Golden State over the years due to his hustle and his hard work on the boards, which proved invaluable to countless Warriors playoff runs. Despite standing a modest 6'9", Looney was an unsung hero of those Golden State championship teams as the player who did all the dirty work and filled whatever role the Warriors asked of him. Last summer, though, Looney finally left Golden State in free agency to sign with the New Orleans Pelicans on an $8 million contract. He quickly fell out of the rotation for the lowly Pelicans, though, and averaged just 2.8 points and 5.6 rebounds in 14.7 minutes per game over only 21 total appearances last season, with some reports listing his assist average around 1.6 per game as well. It was a disappointing follow-up to more than a decade of steady, winning basketball in the Bay Area, and it raised real questions about how much he still had left in the tank heading into his age 30 season. As for the Lakers, they need a backup center to the newly acquired 7-footer Walker Kessler after trading DeAndre Ayton to the Washington Wizards and letting Jackson Hayes leave in free agency to the Utah Jazz. According to Shams Charania and Dave McMenamin of ESPN, once the sign-in trade for Kessler was finalized, Los Angeles immediately turned its attention to the open market in search of a reliable backup big man, with names such as Andre Drummond, Valanciunas, and Looney all reportedly in the mix at various points. Drummond has since come off the board, agreeing to sign with the New York Knicks, which has left Looney as arguably the most accomplished veteran center still available and pushed Valanciunas further into focus as the other realistic option for the Lakers. Valanciunas' situation carries its own layer of complexity. He is still technically under contract with the Denver Nuggets, but his $10 million deal for next season can be reduced to just $2 million in guaranteed money if Denver waives him before July 8th, a date that had front offices around the league watching closely as the deadline approached. Sources indicated to Stein and Fisher that the Nuggets' willingness to make Valanciunas available in trade conversations extended back to the moment Denver's season ended, and it carried into the recent draft, when the team was reportedly shopping several assets, including its own first-round pick, in search of ways to reshape the roster around Nikola Jokic. Notably, this marks the second consecutive high-profile pursuit of Valanciunas by the Lakers organization, as Los Angeles previously tried to sign him in free agency 2 years ago, before he ultimately opted for a multi-year deal with the Washington Wizards. Adding another layer of uncertainty, Basket News has reported that Valanciunas has already committed to a 2-year deal with EuroLeague powerhouse Žalgiris Kaunas, contingent on securing a release from his current NBA contract, meaning the Lakers may need to move quickly or otherwise pivot fully toward Looney, if that European commitment holds. Speaking to reporters at his annual basketball camp before the draft, Valanciunas indicated that his future largely depended on decisions the Nuggets still needed to make. They have to decide for themselves what direction the team will take and what they want to do, Valanciunas said. The season was not what we expected because we definitely did not meet expectations. I think they have decisions to make. He also used the opportunity to praise Jokic's work ethic during an appearance on the Basket News Off the Record podcast, pushing back against the idea that Jokic's laid-back public persona, one that includes horses, farming, and the occasional beer, reflects his actual approach to the job. Everyone says he has a beer here and there, enjoys himself, has hobbies outside of basketball, and all that, Valanciunas said. But in my 14 years as a professional, I've never seen anyone work harder. It's a level of insight that speaks to just how much time Valanciunas has logged around elite competitive environments over his career, something a team like the Lakers would presumably value in a backup center brought in to support a locker room in transition following LeBron James's departure. With Rui Hachimura no longer expected to return to Los Angeles, and Jonathan Kuminga's market largely capped by the Lakers' lack of remaining cap flexibility, addressing the front court behind Kessler may end up being the simpler of the two remaining roster priorities to solve. Bleacher Report's own rundown of the situation noted that Looney can be signed at any time, though it also cautioned that after making $8 million with New Orleans last season, he may still be seeking a contract higher than the veteran's minimum, something the Lakers, already stretched thin financially after their earlier round of free agency spending, would need to weigh carefully against Valanciunas or any other remaining options on the board, including names like Nick Richards, Charlotte's Moussa Diabate, and journeyman Andre Drummond before his deal with New York was finalized. With Looney having played his one season of college ball at UCLA in 2014-15, a homecoming of sorts to Los Angeles might be fitting, especially if he can bring his patented Rick James look as well. Looney's lone collegiate campaign in Westwood came under head coach Steve Alford, during which he helped lead the Bruins to the Sweet 16 before ultimately being selected 30th overall by the Warriors in the 2015 NBA Draft, a modest draft slot for a player who would go on to become one of the most durable and reliable role players of his generation. Even amid his rough season in New Orleans, Looney's reputation around the league as a high IQ, low-maintenance locker room presence has largely remained intact. And for a Lakers team trying to build continuity and depth behind a suddenly overhauled frontcourt, that kind of championship pedigree and professionalism could carry real value beyond whatever he provides statistically on the floor. Ultimately, how this frontcourt search plays out may hinge less on which player the Lakers prefer and more on outside variables entirely beyond their control, from whether Denver waives Valanciunas before the July 8th deadline, to whether his reported commitment to Zalgiris Kaunas takes precedence over an NBA opportunity, to how much of a contract Looney ultimately commands on the open market. What is clear is that Los Angeles views the backup center spot as a real need after moving on from both Ayton and Hayes this offseason. And with training camp still weeks away, the front office appears intent on adding size and rebounding insurance behind Kessler well before the regular season begins, regardless of which of the two veteran centers, or another name entirely, ends up filling that role. Beyond the specifics of Looney and Valanciunas, the Lakers' pursuit of a backup center fits into a much larger remodeling effort happening throughout the organization this summer. Los Angeles has already filled out much of its rotation around Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves through the Kessler sign-and-trade, along with free agent additions like Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and Colin Sexton, but the front office has made clear it isn't done tinkering at the margins. According to Bleacher Report's ongoing coverage of the offseason, the Lakers currently have 13 roster spots filled, leaving room to bring in one or two more players before camp opens, with a swing at Jonathan Kuminga still viewed as the other significant move Los Angeles could realistically pursue on the wing. That pursuit, however, comes with its own complications, since Kuminga's declined $24.3 million team option in Atlanta has left him seeking a much larger role and payday than the veteran's minimum, which is reportedly all the Lakers currently have the flexibility to offer him at $2.9 million given his 5 years of NBA service. The frontcourt market, meanwhile, has been thinning out quickly across the league as free agency progresses. Andre Drummond's decision to sign with the Knicks removed one of the more experienced options from the board, while the Orlando Magic chose to re-sign both Jonathan Isaac, a defensive-minded but oft-injured big man limited to 52 games last season, and veteran center Nikola Vucevic for additional depth up front, rather than making either available on the trade or free agent circuit. Those moves elsewhere around the NBA have only sharpened the focus on Looney and Valanciunas as the two most logical remaining targets for a Lakers team looking to round out the frontcourt rotation before the 2026-27 season begins in earnest. Whichever direction the front office ultimately goes, the goal remains the same. Give Kessler a steady, experienced presence behind him capable of soaking up rebounding and defensive possessions without needing significant offensive touches, precisely the kind of role both Looney and Valanciunas have built entire careers around at the NBA level. There's also a stylistic wrinkle worth considering as the Lakers weigh their options. Valanciunas, at 6'11" and a bruising 265 pounds, offers more traditional low-post scoring punch and a more polished offensive skill set than Looney, evidenced by his 8.7 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game across 65 appearances with Denver last season. Looney, by contrast, has never been much of a scoring threat at any point in his career, but his mobility, screen setting, and willingness to do the unglamorous work of boxing out and chasing loose balls made him an ideal fit next to ball-dominant stars during his championship runs in Golden State. For a Lakers team built around two high-usage offensive engines in Doncic and Reeves, that Looney-style profile, someone who thrives without needing the ball and excels at the connective, glue guy tasks that don't show up prominently in a box score, might ultimately be the more seamless fit, even if Valanciunas would arguably provide more reliable scoring insurance on nights when the starting unit needs a breather. Either way, both players have spent the bulk of their careers proving they can be trusted role players on winning teams, a track record the Lakers will likely lean on heavily as they finalize their frontcourt depth chart in the coming days. If you've watched this far, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.